Hello everyone, let me take you to the end of 18th century. In year 1781, James Watt invented steam engine, and very soon he discovered certain problems with that engine. One of the problem was when the load of the engine was increasing, the speed of the engine was decreasing, and when the load of the engine was decreasing, the speed of the engine was increasing. And this has a lot to do with the efficiency. You can see speed versus efficiency curve here. As the speed increases, first the efficiency increases, and after a certain point the efficiency drops. And you can also see one thing here, that within a certain range of speed we get the maximum efficiency, and if the speed is fluctuating a lot, obviously the efficiency will drop. So for this reason it is very essential to maintain the speed to the mean speed for any engine, and for this he used a device, and that device is known as governor. So what actually is the function of governor? What does the governor do? Governor maintains the speed of the engine. How it maintains the speed of the engine? As you can see one thing here, the speed depends on two factors. First factor is the load, as I told you. As the load of the engine increases, the speed decreases. And second factor is the amount of fuel supplied. As the amount of fuel supply increases, the speed of the engine increases, and as the amount of fuel supply decreases, the speed of the engine decreases. Okay, so what should be done? So as the load is increasing, if we are increasing the amount of fuel supply, because of the increased load, the speed will drop, and because of the amount of fuel supplied increased, the speed will rise. Okay, so this will balance the speed, this will maintain the speed. Okay, so governor is a device which maintains the speed. How it maintains the speed? As the load increases, it increases the fuel supply so as to maintain the speed, and as the load decreases, it decreases the fuel supply so as to maintain the speed. Okay, so this is actually the function of governor. Next, coming to the types of governor. So basically there are two types of governor. First is the centrifugal governor, and second is the inertia governor. Now let us look at the different types of centrifugal governor. So there are basically two types of centrifugal governor. First is the pendulum type centrifugal governor. An example of this pendulum type is Watt governor, and second type of centrifugal governor is the loaded type. Further, this loaded type can be classified into dead weight type and spring control type. The example of dead weight type governor are Porter governor and Proel governor. An example of spring control governor are Hartnell governor, Hartung governor, Wilson-Hartner governor, and Pickering governor. Okay, so these are various types of governor. Let us discuss about the functioning, the working of the centrifugal governor. So this is the simple type of centrifugal governor. You can call it as Watt governor, which was first used. These are the different parts. These are the fly balls, the arms, the spindle, links, sleeve, the bevel gears, bell crank lever, throttle valve, and working fluid. Working fluid is flowing through this pipeline to the engine. These bevel gears are connected with engine, and because of this bevel gear, this spindle will rotate, which will further rotate this fly ball. And as the fly ball is rotating, an outward centrifugal force is acting on this fly ball, which will try to move this fly ball in outward direction, and which will further raise this spindle. Now what actually happens, what happens when the load of the engine is increasing? Just understand this thing very carefully. When the load of the engine is increasing, the speed of engine will drop. As the speed of the engine drops, the speed of this bevel gear will decrease. The speed of this spindle will decrease. Less centrifugal force is acting on this fly ball, and this spindle will move down. Because the centrifugal force acting is less, as the speed is decreasing, the centrifugal force acting will be less, and this spindle will move down, and this spindle is connected to the throttle valve with the help of bell crank lever, and as this spindle is moving down, this throttle valve will tend to open. Okay, and as this throttle valve is opening, more working fluid will be supplied to the engine, which will produce more speed, and we can maintain the speed from there. So as the load is increasing, the speed decreases, but because of this throttle valve opens and the amount of working fluid is increasing, so the speed maintains. On the contrary, if the load is decreasing, now what will happen if the load is decreasing? The speed of the engine will increase. So the speed of this spindle will increase. So this will increase the speed of this fly ball. More amount of centrifugal force will be acting here. More amount of centrifugal force will be acting here. The spindle, the sleeve will lift. The sleeve will be lifted, and because of when the sleeve is lifted, this will close this throttle valve. That means the amount of fuel supplied will be less to the engine, which will further decrease the speed, and hence the speed can be maintained. Getting this now? So this is the simple functioning of this fly ball governor, or you can call it as watt governor. Now let us understand this with the help of 3D animation. Now this is our governor. As the load increases, the speed of this bevel gear will decrease. The speed of the spindle will decrease. This will decrease the centrifugal force acting on the fly ball, and fly ball will tend to move inwards, which will further lower the speed, lower the sleeve, and this sleeve is further connected to the throttle valve with the help of bell crank lever. So when the sleeve is getting lowered, this throttle valve will be open. Okay, so if the throttle valve is getting opened, more amount of fuel is coming, and further the speed can be maintained. On the contrary, if the load is decreasing, what will happen? Now the speed of the spindle will increase, the speed of the fly ball will increase, more amount of centrifugal force will be acting. So this fly ball will tend to move outwards, which will further raise the sleeve, and through this sleeve the throttle valve is connected with the help of bell crank lever so that throttle valve will get closed. That means less amount of working fluid will pass and the speed can be maintained. Okay, so this is the complete functioning of this centrifugal type of governor. Now let us look at the first type of governor, the analysis of first type of governor, which is a watt governor. Now this is a simple watt type governor. These are the balls. A centrifugal force Fc is acting in the ball, and that centrifugal force is nothing but m omega square r, as we all know. The weight of the ball W is acting downward, and which will be equal to m into g. The tension in the arms, let the tension in the arms be T. The radius of ball, the radius at which the balls are rotating at any particular instant is suppose r, and at that instant the height of the governor is suppose h. Now taking moment about this point O, taking moment about O, what will happen? Now this Fc into h, centrifugal force Fc into h, this will be equal to W into small r. Okay, now just put the values. Fc is nothing but m omega square r into h, W is nothing but m into g into small r. This mm gets cancelled out, rr gets cancelled out. From here you can get h is equal to g by omega square, or you can say omega square is equal to g by h. This is for simple watt governor. Okay, further you can say that omega is equal to, now just put the value of omega. Now further this omega is equal to 2 pi n by 60. Okay, so just put the value. So this h will be equal to g upon 2 pi n by 60 ka square, or from here this h will be equal to 895 upon n square. Okay, so this is the expression of height, and obviously from here this is clear that as the speed increases, the height is inversely proportional to n square. That means as the speed increases, this height will decrease for obvious reasons. As the speed increases, more centrifugal force will act. That means this this balls will move outward, the sleeve will move upward, and the value of this height will decrease. Okay, so this is about the watt governor. Now second type of governor is the Porter governor. Now Porter governor is same as that of watt governor, with just the only difference that here there is a central load in this Porter governor. And what is the function of this central load? This central load will increase the speed required in order to raise the balls. Because this load is acting downward, so this will increase the speed required to raise the raise the sleeve or the balls. Okay. Now this is the free body diagram of this Porter governor. Let us understand this. So this is our ball. A centrifugal force Fc is acting here. We have a central load capital W. Let's suppose a central load capital W acting, and we are just drawing for the one side. Okay. So here the total load acting is nothing but capital W by 2, and where this capital W is nothing but capital M into G. Okay. Apart from this, a ball is there. The weight of that ball is suppose small mg or small w, which is equal to small mg. Tension in the arms are T1 and T2. This angle is alpha and this angle is beta. Now what should be done? Now just draw the eye center. Now where will be the eye center? So just extend this arm. So this will be the eye center. Okay, just name this. This is suppose point B. If I draw this perpendicular, this will be M. This is suppose D, and this is suppose P. Getting this or not? Okay. Now taking moment about I. Now when we take this moment about this point I, this Fc into Bm, we are taking moment about this I. So this Fc into this distance, which is Bm, this is equal to small mg into Im plus capital Mg by 2, W by 2 into Id. Getting this now? Okay. Or this can be written as what? Fc is equal to Mg into Im upon Bm plus capital Mg by 2. Now what is this Id? This Id can be further written as Im plus Md. Okay, so this will be Im plus Md upon Bm. Clear or not? Okay. Now this angle is alpha, so this angle will be alpha. Similarly, this angle is beta, so this angle will be beta. Okay. Now tan alpha will be equal to what? From this triangle, from triangle BIM, tan alpha will be equal to what? Im upon Bm. Getting this or not? Okay. Similarly, in triangle BMD, here tan beta will be equal to what? MD upon Bm, perpendicular upon base. Getting this? Okay. So just put the values. So this will be equal to Fc is equal to Mg into Im upon Bm plus capital Mg by 2 into Im upon Bm plus Md upon Bm. Okay. Put the values. So this will be Fc is equal to Mg into tan alpha plus Mg by 2 into tan of alpha plus tan of beta. Okay. So further this can be written as Fc upon tan alpha dividing whole by tan alpha. So this will be small mg plus capital Mg by 2 into 1 plus tan beta by tan of alpha. Clear or not? Now further this tan alpha can also be written as what? Now just take this triangle, consider this triangle PB, suppose this point is S, consider this triangle PBS. Okay. Now what will be tan alpha? From here tan alpha will be equal to perpendicular upon base, so this can be written as what? R by H. Just put the value. So this will be equal to what? Fc upon R by H is equal to Mg plus capital Mg by 2 into 1 plus. Now this is a ratio tan beta by tan alpha. Let this ratio tan beta by tan alpha be Q. So this will be 1 plus Q. Clear or not? Okay. Now just put the value of this Fc. Fc is what? What is this Fc? M omega square R. Just put the value. So this will be M omega square R into H by R is equal to Mg plus capital Mg by 2 into 1 plus Q. So from here this RR gets cancelled out and we will get what? h is equal to g by omega square mg. So take g as common, so this will be m plus capital M by 2 into 1 plus q divided by small m. That's it. So this is the expression for height of governor, capital H, small h, sorry. The expression for height of governor. Okay. Now putting the condition, if tan alpha is equal to tan beta, or you can say if q is equal to 1. Now what will happen if q is equal to 1? This will be 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2. This 2 gets cancelled out. Okay, so final expression will be h is equal to g by omega square into small m plus capital M upon small m. That's it. This is the height. Okay, and this formula can be valid for Watt governor as well. So, because in Watt governor we don't have this W by 2. So just put this capital M as 0. So what will happen in Watt governor? This capital M is 0. This is small m gets cancelled out. So this h will be equal to g by omega square, same as the expression which we got in the Watt governor. Okay, so this is the expression for height of governor. Now moving further, so what we got was h is equal to g by omega square small m plus capital M by 2 into 1 plus q upon small m. This was the expression. Okay. Now from here this omega square will be equal to g by h m plus m by 2 1 plus q by m. Okay, and this omega can be further written as what? Omega is equal to what? 2 pi n by 60. So just put the value. So this will be equal to 2 pi n by 60 whole square is equal to g by h small m plus capital M by 2 1 plus q by small m. Okay, now just calculate this. Put the value of g as 9.81. From here we will get the value of n square as 895 by h m plus m by 2 into 1 plus q by small m. Getting this or not? Okay, this is the case when we are not considering the value of friction. Now if we are considering the friction, then what will happen? So we have this weight in this, suppose we have this Porter governor, and in this Porter governor we are having the weight which will move along with the sleeve. Okay, so when this weight is moving upward, the frictional force will act downward, and when this weight is moving downward, the frictional force will act upward. Okay, so if we are considering the friction, on that friction force will add or subtract with this value of central load. Getting this or not? Okay, so on considering the friction, small f, okay, so this n square will be equal to 895 by h multiplying and dividing by g. So we will get what? Small mg plus capital Mg plus minus of f by plus minus. If this is moving upward, then we will take it as plus f, because frictional force is acting downward and it will add on to the weight of the central load. Okay, and if it is moving downward, frictional force will act upward and it will be subtracted from the central load. Okay, so this will be mg plus minus f. Okay, and why we are multiplying g? Because here we are just having the mass and this is the force. So in order to convert it into force, we have multiplied it by g. So this will be mg plus capital Mg plus minus f by 2 into 1 plus q divided by small mg. Okay, so this is the expression when we are considering frictional force. Getting this one? Okay, same thing if q is equal to 1 here. If q is equal to 1, this 1 plus 1 will be 2, this 2 gets cancelled out, and we will get n square as 895 upon h small mg plus mg plus minus f upon mg. This is the case when tan alpha is equal to tan beta or q is equal to 1. Okay, and positive sign is taken here. Positive sign is taken if a sleeve is moving up, and negative sign is taken if a sleeve is moving down. That's it. Getting this not? Okay, so this is about Porter governor. Okay, so next type of governor is the Proel governor. Now what is the difference in the Proel governor? In Proel governor we have the balls at B and C which are on at the extension of AF and DG. We have the extension of AF and DG at B and C, and at B and C we are having the balls. This is the only difference. Rest everything is like Porter governor. Okay, and this is the again the free body diagram, and we have taken the eye center. These are the distances. This distance is suppose C, this is B, this distance is A, and the distance of this ball from the bottom is E. This is H is the height of the governor. Okay, I will just tell you the final formula. Proof you can see, you can refer it from the book. One proof I have already told you. Okay, so this final formula FC is equal to A by E tan alpha mg plus capital Mg by 2 into 1 plus Q. Okay, this is the formula for centrifugal force FC. Okay, again this FC can be written as what? M omega square R, and this omega can be written as 2 pi n by 60. Okay, so from here we will get the value of n square, and this n square will be equal to A by E m plus capital M by 2 into 1 plus Q upon small m into 895 by H. Okay, now conditions for alpha is equal to beta and Q is equal to 1. So this n square will be equal to, if alpha is equal to beta, this Q will be equal to 1. This 2 gets cancelled out. Okay, so this n square will be equal to A by E small m plus capital M by small m into 895 by H. This is the value of n square without friction. Now considering frictional force, so this f n square will be equal to now 895 by H A by E 2 mg plus capital Mg plus minus F into 1 plus Q upon 2 mg. That's it. Okay, so this is the formula for Proel governor. Almost similar formula, you just have to remember one formula, and all the formula you can derive it there. Okay, clear or not? Now next type of governor is the Hartnell governor. This is a spring control governor. In this, the control valve is controlled with the help of the spring through the governor. Now this is the diagram for Hartnell governor. You can see here same bevel gears, then this is the sleeve, and when this is rotating, this ball, when the load decreases, the speed will increase, and when the speed increases, this ball will move outwards, and this will lift this up, and as this is lifted up, then the ball will tend to close, decreasing the fuel supply so that the speed can be maintained. Function is same. In the previous type of governor, the control was because of gravity. In this, the control is because of a spring. This is the only difference between the two. Getting this now? Okay, so this is this Hartnell spring control governor. Now, let us understand this figure very carefully. So, as I told you, the position of this bell crank lever is changing continuously with respect to speed. At lowest speed, bell crank lever is like this, and at highest speed, bell crank lever is like this. Okay, so we are analyzing this in two different positions. In the lowest speed, the bell crank lever is like this, and in the highest speed, the bell crank lever is like this. Okay, now at this particular point, mass mg is acting. At the end point, mass mg is acting. At this particular point, what are the forces acting? First is the mass of this sleeve, the complete mass, the central load, the central mass of this sleeve, which is suppose capital Mg. Total mass is suppose capital Mg. Okay, and apart from this, a spring force will be acting, because this is displacing the spring, then obviously there will be a spring force, and apart from this, a frictional force will also act. Getting this or not? Okay, so total force, as we are considering for the one side, so total force will be half, which is equal to mg plus fs1 plus f by 2. fs1, we are taking the force of the spring in this lowest position. Now, this distance is small a1, this is a small b1, the radius, as I told, is r. Okay, the height from mean position, suppose this is moving h1 height below, so this is height h1. Getting this or not? Okay, the displacement, total displacement is suppose theta 1. This is theta 1. This will be theta 1. Okay. Now, in next position, in this position, highest position of the sleeve, bell crank lever is like this. Okay. Mass mg is acting here. Centrifugal force Fc2 will be acting here. Here the complete force acting is mg plus fs2. fs2 is the force of the spring in this highest position of the sleeve. Getting this? fs2 plus frictional force divided by 2. This distance is b2, this distance is a2, and this height from the mean position, this is moving upward, so this height is nothing but h2. Okay, so total displacement of a sleeve. What will be total displacement of a sleeve? Initially the sleeve was like this. Here it is moving h1 up to mean position, and after h1 it is moving h2 after mean position upwards. So total displacement of a sleeve will be equal to h1 plus h2. Getting this or not? So okay, so I think this figure is clear. Okay, now taking the moment about A. Taking moment about fulcrum A. Okay, now what will be the moment? About this fulcrum A. So this will be equal to Fc1 into A1, Fc1 into this distance A1, okay, plus is equal to, mg into C1, small mg into this distance C1, plus mg plus fs1 plus f by 2 into b1. Getting this not? Okay, फिर से देख लो, fc1 into this distance a1 is equal to, this is moving anti-clockwise. Now this mg and this complete mg plus fs1 plus f by 2, these are taking this clockwise. Okay, so this will be equal to mg into c1 plus mg plus fs1 plus f into b1. Getting this? Okay. Similarly, in figure B, this is figure A. In figure B, this will be equal to fc2 into a2 is equal to small mg this will be equal to mg plus fs2 plus f by 2 into b2 plus mg into c2. Okay, I will rub this. Okay, now for theta to be very less, a1 will be equal to a2 will be equal to a. If theta is very less, then this a1 will be equal to a2, which is equal to suppose a. Similarly, b1 is equal to b2 is equal to b. Also c1 is equal to c2, which is equal to 0. Now what is c? C is this distance. Okay, so if this theta is very small, then this c1 and c2 can be almost taken as 0. Getting this? Okay, so this equation becomes fc1 into a is equal to half mg plus fs1 plus F into B, this is equation 1. Similarly, FC2 into A is equal to half mg plus Fs2 plus F into B, this is equation number 2. Clear or not? Okay. Now 2 minus 1, subtracting equation 1 from equation number 2. So what will we get? Fc1 minus Fc2 into A is equal to half Fs2 minus Fs1 into B. This mg into B by 2, mgb by 2 cancel out, fb by 2 and small fb by 2 cancel out. Okay. So from here we can get the value of Fs2 minus Fs1, difference in spring force. So this will be equal to 2A by B into Fc2 minus Fc1. Getting this now? Okay. First thing. Now let S be the stiffness of a spring. And small h is the movement of sleeve, which is equal to h1 plus h2, as I told you. Okay, S, capital S, we are taking as the stiffness of the spring, and small h is the total movement of a sleeve. And as I told you, this total movement of a sleeve is nothing but h1 plus h2. Okay, now this Fs2 minus Fs1, this can be further written as, this will be equal to h into S. This is net force, Fs2 minus Fs1 is net force, and this is equal to spring constant into displacement. Okay, what is spring constant? Force per unit displacement. So net force acting is what? Fs2 minus Fs1. This is equal to displacement into spring constant. Okay, so this Fs2 minus Fs1 is equal to h into S, which can be further written as 2A by B into Fc2 minus Fc1. Okay, so from here the spring constant is equal to 2A upon h into B into Fc2 minus Fc1. Getting this? So this is the expression for stiffness of the spring. Clear or not? Okay. Now tan theta 1. Now what is this tan theta 1? Tan theta 1. Just look at this figure. Look at this triangle. Okay. What will be tan theta 1? Perpendicular upon base. So this will be equal to h1 upon b1. Getting this or not? Okay. So this tan theta 1 will be equal to what? h1 upon b1. And this is also equal to, now this angle is also theta. If this angle is theta 1, this angle will be theta 1. Okay. So this angle is theta 1. So this tan theta 1 can also be written as c1 by a1. Okay. So this can be also written as c1 by a1. Getting this now? Okay. Now further this c1 can be written as, what is this c1? c1 can be written as, this whole distance is small r minus r1. This is small r minus r1. So this can be written as r minus r1. c1 can be written as r minus r1 upon a1. Clear or not? Okay. Similarly, tan theta 2 from figure B. This angle is theta 2. So this angle will be theta 2. Okay. So this tan theta 2 will be equal to what? h2 upon b2. So this is equal to h2 upon b2. And this can be further written as what? This is c2 upon a2. This can be further written as c2 by a2. Okay. And what is this c2? c2 को क्या लिख सकते हैं? This can also be written as r2 minus small r. So this is equal to r2 minus r upon. Okay. Give this as equation number 3 and equation number 4. Clear or not? Okay. Now adding equation 3 and 4. Adding equation 3 and 4. Just add these two equations. Also we know that a1 is equal to a2 is equal to a and b1 is equal to b2 is equal to b. Now add this. So we will get what? h1 plus h2 by b h1 plus h2 by b is equal to r minus r1 plus r2 minus r by a. Simple. Okay, so this r will get cancelled out and we will get what? h1 plus h2 by b is equal to r2 minus r1 by a. Okay, and this h1 plus h2 is nothing but h, total moment of a sleeve. h1 plus h2 is nothing but h, so this h will be equal to b by a into r2 minus r1. That's it. Okay, so this is the total moment of a sleeve. Okay, now just put the value of this h in the equation of stiffness. So what will be the stiffness now? So this S will be equal to 2a by b into h. H can be written as what? b by a into r2 minus r1 into fc2 minus fc1. So this S will be equal to 2a square by b square into fc2 minus fc1 upon r2 minus r1. That's it. Okay, so this is the expression for stiffness of the spring. This is the expression of total lift. Okay, you just have to learn the final formulas, but I am telling you the derivation so that you can be able to know that where to apply those formulas. Okay, derivation part is essential to understand in order to know the application of that formula. Getting is not? Ultimately, you have to learn the formula for solving the numericals. Okay. Next, we will see the controlling force diagram for a Porter governor. Okay, we will see different cases. Now, as we know that centrifugal force or controlling force is equal to what? M omega square r. Centrifugal force is equal to controlling force, which is equal to m omega square r. Now, at any particular speed, if omega is constant, then this Fc is directly proportional to r. Getting this? So, if I am plotting the graph at constant in speed, at any constant speed, if I am plotting the graph between controlling force Fr and radius r at any constant speed, I will get one straight line like this. Let the speed at this particular point is c. Okay. If I am increasing the speed, then obviously this graph will shift up, suppose c1. If I am decreasing the speed, this curve will shift down, suppose at point c2. Getting this now? Okay. Now, at any particular point, suppose the radius is small r, the radius of the governor, the radius of rotation of ball at any particular point is suppose small r. Okay. If I am increasing the speed, suppose this point shifts at point B. Suppose this point is P. If I am increasing the speed, the point shifts at point B. If I am decreasing the speed, the equilibrium point shifts at point A. Okay, so these points, point A, P, B, are giving the equilibrium points. That means at this particular speed and at this particular radius, we will get an equilibrium point. If I am increasing the speed, the point is shifting at this point, that means the radius is increasing. If I am decreasing the speed, the radius is decreasing, and if I draw the curve passing through these points, this is nothing but a speed curve. This curve is the speed curve. Okay. Another condition I will take. Graph between controlling force and radius at 3 different speeds. Controlling force, C. Okay. Now this is suppose point P. If I am increasing the speed, the point is shifting here. This point is suppose A. sorry, if I'm increasing the speed, the point is shifting here at point B, and if I'm decreasing the speed, the point is shifting at point A. Okay, and if I draw the curve, it will be like this. Okay, so these are two different cases. In first case, the slope of this speed curve is greater than that of this controlling force curve. In second case, the slope of this speed curve, let me draw this clearly. In second case, the slope of this speed curve is less than that of the controlling force diagram. Getting this now? Okay. Now let us analyze these two cases. Now in this particular case, if the speed is increasing means this curve is shifting at this point, at this curve. Okay. So if the speed is increasing, we will be having point B, and the radius at point B is suppose R1, such that this R1 is greater than small r. Getting this? And if I am decreasing the speed, if the speed of the governor is decreasing, the radius at this particular point is suppose R2, such that this R2 is further less than R. That means R1 is greater than R, which is greater than R2. Getting the point or not? Now, if the speed of the governor is increasing, according to this curve, the radius of rotation of ball is also increasing, and if the radius of rotation of ball is increasing, obviously this sleeve will move up, the height will decrease. That means the sleeve will move up, and as we have seen in the working of governor, as we have seen in the working of governor, as the sleeve is moving upward, the control valve will tend to close, so less amount of fuel will pass through it, so that the speed can be decreased and further maintained to the equilibrium speed. Getting this not? Or mean speed. Clear or not? Further, on the other hand, if the speed is decreasing, if the governor speed is decreasing, I am getting equilibrium point at point A. Here the radius is R2, which is less than R. That means this will shift down. The R2, the radius is less than R. This sleeve will move down, and as the sleeve moves down, this valve will open, and more amount of fuel will rush inside the engine, so that the speed can be increased and maintained to the mean speed. Okay, so such type of governor is nothing but a stable governor. Why stable governor? Because if the speed is increasing, the valve closes automatically, because the radius of rotation is increasing, so the valve closes automatically, so the speed can be maintained. If the speed is decreasing, the valve opens automatically, so the speed can be maintained. Such type of governor is called as the stable governor. Okay. Now coming to this case, in which the speed curve is having less slope than that of the control force curve. Now what will happen in this particular case? At any particular point, at point P, the radius of rotation is suppose smaller. Okay. If I am increasing the speed, if the speed of governor is increasing, this will shift at point A, and at point A the radius is suppose R1, such that you can see from the curve this R1 is less than R. Getting this? Okay. And if the speed is decreased, the C curve will shift to C2. If the speed is decreased, then we will get the equilibrium point at point B, where the radius of rotation is R2, such that R2 is greater than R. So in this case, R1 is less than R, which is less than R2. Now what will happen if the speed is increasing? Now understand this thing. If the speed is increasing, the radius of rotation of ball will decrease. If the speed is increasing, the radius of rotation of ball will decrease. The sleeve will move down, which will further open the valve of the governor. Getting this? When the sleeve is moving down, it will open the valve of the governor. And if the valve of the governor is getting opened, more fuel will rush inside, which will increase the speed more. As a result, this radius will further decrease and the sleeve will come down and the process continues. Getting this? On the other hand, if the speed is decreasing, suppose, if the speed is decreasing, we are getting equilibrium point at point B, the radius is increasing. If the speed is decreasing, the radius will increase. If the radius is increasing, this sleeve will rise, and if this sleeve is rise, the control valve will tend to close. And if the control valve will close, less fuel will get inside the engine, that will further decrease the speed. Okay, so if the speed is increasing, then it will go on increasing, go on increasing, and if the speed is decreasing, it will go on decreasing till it stops. Such type of governor is known as the unstable governor. Getting this now? Okay. Now coming to third type of governor. Now, at any particular point, point P, the radius is suppose a small r. Okay. If this speed curve follows this line, the same line, if the speed curve is following the same line, this is point A, suppose this is point B, suppose. Okay. At point A, the radius is suppose r1, and at point B, the radius is suppose r2. Okay. So one thing you can see that for different speeds, for all the speeds, sorry, for different radius of rotation of ball, for all radius of rotation of ball, the speed remains the same. Getting this or not? So such a governor is known as isochronous governor. Such a governor is known as isochronous, in which the speed remains same irrespective of the radius of rotation of the ball. Getting this or not? Okay. So this is controlling force diagram for a Porter governor. Next is the controlling force diagram for a Hartnell governor, or you can call it as spring controlled governor. Okay. The same controlling force diagram we will plot now for the spring controlled governor. Okay. Now let us analyze this. As we know what Fc, centrifugal force, is equal to m omega square r. Okay. Or you can say Fc by r is equal to m. Now let me take you in reverse direction. Fc by r is equal to m omega square. Why we are getting such type of curves? Fc by r is equal to m omega square. Now, for a stable governor, what is the condition? Suppose this is a Hartnell governor. Now, for a stable governor, if the speed is increasing, or you can say if radius of rotation is increasing, for any stable governor, if the radius of rotation is increasing, then speed should increase. Or you can say if the speed is increasing, then radius of rotation should increase. Why? If the speed is increasing, this sleeve should move upward. so that the valve can be closed so as to decrease the fuel supply so as to maintain the speed. As simple as that. Okay, so if the speed is increasing, the radius should increase, radius of rotation should increase, or you can say if radius of rotation is increasing, that means the speed is increasing. Getting this? This is the condition for a stable governor. Now, how can this condition be achieved? Now, Fc is equal to, if Fc is equal to A into R minus B, or you can say Fc by R is equal to A minus B by R. Okay. Now, in this particular case, if radius of rotation is increasing, the B by R is decreasing, A minus B by R is increasing, Fc by R is increasing, therefore the omega is increasing. Getting this now? Okay. So, for stable governor, this Fc should be equal to AC minus B. To make it more simple, I explained you in reverse direction. Getting this or not? Okay. Consider this equation, Fc is equal to AR minus B, or you can say Fc by R is equal to A minus B by R. If radius is increasing, this B by R should decrease, A minus B by R should increase, Fc by R should increase, therefore the omega will increase. And that is actually the condition of stable equilibrium. If R is increasing, the omega should increase, or the speed should increase. Okay. Therefore, for a stable equilibrium, or for a stable governor, Fc is equal to A into R minus B. This is the condition for a stable. Getting this? Now, what if I am increasing the value of this B? This B is right now negative. If I am increasing this value of B, and at certain point I am making the value of B as 0, then this Fc is equal to A into R. Okay. Let us analyze this equation. If Fc is equal to A into R, or you can say Fc by R is equal to A, this means Fc by R is a constant. Fc by R is a constant. That means omega is a constant irrespective of the radius. This means that this is the condition for isochronous governor. Okay. Whether I am increasing the radius or I am decreasing the radius, this Fc by R remains constant. That means the speed remains constant. So, this is the condition for isochronous governor. Okay. And further, if the value of B is further increased and is made positive, then we will get the equation what? Fc is equal to A into R plus B. Now, how can the value of B be increased? How can we increase the value of B? Initially, we are having A into R minus B. Now, if I am increasing the stiffness of the spring, very important thing, if I am increasing the stiffness of the spring, the value of B will increase. And if I am increasing the stiffness, the value of B is increasing up to certain point, suppose B, then we are having the isochronous governor. If I am increasing the stiffness further, the value of B will become positive. And what if the value of B is positive? Then what? See here, Fc by R is equal to A plus B by R. Now, if R is increasing, B by R is decreasing, A plus B by R is decreasing, that means Fc by R is decreasing. Or you can say omega is decreasing. That means if R is increasing, omega is decreasing, and this is the condition of unstable governor. When omega is decreasing, the R should decrease. When omega is increasing, the R should increase. Then it is a stable governor. Here, if the omega is decreasing, the R is increasing. That's why this is the unstable governor. Getting this or not? Okay. So, write down a note. B can be made 0 or positive by increasing tension in the spring. Okay. Now, what is sensitiveness? When do we call that the governor is sensitive? If for a small change in speed, if the governor is responding rapidly, That means if for a small change in speed the governor rises or falls rapidly, then we can say that the governor is sensitive. Okay, and this sensitiveness can also be defined as the ratio of range of speed to mean speed. Ratio of range of speed to mean speed. Now what is range of speed? Highest speed is suppose n1, lowest speed is suppose n2. So this is n1 minus n2 upon mean speed is n. Okay. Now what is mean speed? N will be equal to what? n1 plus n2 by 2. Okay. So from here we will get n1 minus n2 upon n1 plus n2 by 2. Okay. So this is the sensitiveness of governor. 2 into n1 minus n2 upon n1 plus n2. Okay, where n1 is maximum speed, n1 is maximum speed, n2 is minimum speed, and n is mean speed. If you want, you can write it down. n1 is maximum speed, n2 is minimum speed, and n is mean speed. Clear or no? Okay. Another term is sensitivity. This sensitivity is actually the ratio of mean speed to range of speed. Ratio of mean speed to range of speed, or you can say this will be equal to n1 plus n2 upon 2 into n1 minus n2. So this is sensitivity. Okay. Now, if I ask one question that what should be the sensitivity of an isochronous governor? Okay. So for isochronous governor, as we know that n1 is equal to n2. Okay. That means this term will be 0. Therefore, sensitivity will be infinite for isochronous governor. Getting this or not? Okay. Okay. Next topic is hunting. Now, what actually is hunting? Suppose this is our governor, a centrifugal governor, and this is connected to the control valve with the help of bell crank lever, as we have already seen. Okay. Now, if this governor is too sensitive, then what will happen? Suppose there is a slight change in speed. For example, the load of the governor is decreasing, and as a result of that, the speed of the governor will change slightly. The speed of the governor will increase. So what will happen? Because the governor is too much sensitive, for a small change in speed, for a small increase in speed, this sleeve will rise to the highest level. Getting this on? Because the governor is too much sensitive. So if for a very small change of speed, the sleeve will rise to the highest level, and as a result of that, this will close the throttle valve, because if the speed is rising to the highest level, this will close the throttle valve, stopping the fuel supply. And if the fuel supply is stopped, the speed of the governor will suddenly decrease. So initially the speed was increasing, and because this control valve is shut, so the increase will suddenly drop. Now, when the speed is dropping, when the speed decreases, when the speed is dropping, because the governor is too much sensitive, the sleeve will move to the lowest position, and as a result of that, this throttle valve, this control valve will be open completely, and fuel will rush into the engine and increasing the speed further. Okay, so what is happening? The speed is increasing and then decreasing, then increasing, then decreasing to the highest possible level. Such process is known as the hunting. Getting this now? Okay, so a governor is said to be hunt if the speed of the engine fluctuates continuously above and below mean speed. This is caused if the governor is too much sensitive. Okay. Next is the isochronous governor. Okay, so we have already seen about isochronous governor. And what actually is an isochronous governor? For all radius of rotation of this ball, if the speed of governor is same, for different radius of rotation of balls, if the speed of the governor is same, then we can call it as a isochronous governor. As simple as that. Okay, so how can we define it? When equilibrium speed is constant, that is range of speed is 0 for all radii of balls within the working range, neglecting friction, then the governor is called as isochronous governor. Isochronism is the stage of infinite sensitivity. Clear or not? Okay. Now for a Porter governor, we have seen the formula for Porter governor. N square is equal to m plus capital M by 2 into 1 plus q by m into 895 by h1 h. Okay, for two different speeds, suppose n1 and n2, so this will be n1, this will be h1. Similarly, n2 square is equal to m plus capital M by 2 1 plus q by m into 895 by h2. Okay, now because this is an isochronous governor, so n1 should be equal to n2. Okay, now if we divide these two equations, n1 is equal to n2, this term will get cancelled out, this whole term will get cancelled out, 895 will get cancelled out, therefore h1 is equal to h2. Getting this one? Okay, so is it possible that if n1 is equal to n2, the condition we are getting is h1 is equal to h2. That means for different radius of rotation, the height of the governor is same, which is not possible, because as the radius of rotation is changing, correspondingly the height of the governor will change. Okay, therefore a Porter governor can never be an isochronous governor. This is the conclusion we are getting from here. How we got the conclusion? Because when we are equating the speed, we are getting h1 is equal to h2, which is not possible. Therefore a Porter governor can never be an isochronous governor. Clear or not? Okay, similarly for a Hartnell governor, as we know from the formula, mg plus fs1 is equal to 2 fc1 into a by b. Okay, and this fc1 can be further written as what? M omega square into r, or you can say m into 2 pi n by 60, omega is 2 pi n by 60 whole square into r. Okay, so just put the value. So this will be equal to 2 into m into 2 pi n1 by 60 whole square into r1. Similarly, mg plus fs2 is equal to 2 fc2 into a by b, which is equal to 2m 2 pi n2 by 60 whole square into r2. Okay, into a by b, sorry, into a by b. Okay, and when we divide this for isochronism, this n1 should be equal to n2, and if we divide this term will get cancelled out, a and b will get cancelled out, and we will get what? mg plus fs1 upon mg plus fs2 is equal to r1 by r2. That's it. So this is the condition of isochronism for a Hartnell governor. mg plus fs1 upon mg plus fs2 is equal to r1 plus r2. Okay. Now write down few important notes. Isochronous governor are not for practical purpose, because friction between the sleeve cannot be zero. Second note, condition of isochronism can only be achieved at the expense of stability. Clear or not? Okay. Next topic is the effort of governor. Okay. Now what actually is the effort of governor? Now as you have seen that as the speed of the governor is increasing, the balls will move away from the center and which will lift this sleeve. Okay, therefore obviously if the sleeve is getting lifted, that means some force is acting there. That mean force acting on the sleeve is nothing but a effort of the governor. Okay, the mean force required to raise the speed is nothing but an effort of the governor for a given change of speed, obviously. Clear or not? Okay, so suppose initially the force is 0. Finally the force, the maximum force is suppose E. Okay, we want to determine the mean force. So mean force will be equal to 0 plus E by 2, which is equal to E by 2. Clear or not? Okay, so just write down the formula for effort for a Porter governor. Effort E by 2 is equal to Cg by 1 plus Q 2m plus capital M into 1 plus Q. Okay, this is the formula for effort in a Porter governor. Okay, now what is this C? How can we define this C? C is nothing but, you can define C like this: omega 2 is equal to omega 1 plus C into omega 1. Getting this? Where omega 1 is the minimum speed, omega 2 is the maximum speed. Okay, so C is the factor by which the speed is getting increased. Getting this now? For example, suppose the initial speed is 100 and finally the speed is becoming 125. Okay, omega 1 is 100, omega 2 is 125. Okay, so this 125 can be further written as 100 plus 0.25 into 100. Getting this or not? So in this case, this C will be equal to 0.25, just for an example. Okay, so C is the value, C is the factor by which the speed is getting increased. Okay, so this is the effort. Now for Q is equal to 1, applying condition for Q is equal to 1, so this effort E by 2 will be equal to, this will be 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2, this 2, 1 plus 1, 2 will get cancelled out, we will get what? Cg into M plus capital M. This is the condition when tan alpha is equal to tan beta, or you can say Q is equal to 1. Okay. Next condition, if we consider friction, okay, if the friction F is considered, then E by 2 will be equal to C into, multiply this G inside, mg plus capital Mg, okay, plus frictional force F. That's it. Clear or not? Okay, so this is the effort if the friction is taken into consideration for a Porter governor. Okay, now what about Watt governor? For Watt governor, same formula can be used, only in Watt governor the central load is missing. Okay, so this for Watt governor, capital M will be equal to 0, central load is missing. Okay, so effort will be equal to E by 2 will be equal to C M G if friction is not considered, and if friction is considered then it will be C into mg plus F. Clear or not? Okay, so from these two equations we can conclude one thing, this equation and this equation. This is the effort for a Porter governor, Cg into M plus capital M. This is the effort of Watt governor, Cg into M. Okay, so this from these two equations we can conclude that the effort required for a Watt governor is less than that of the Porter governor, because in Porter governor this M factor is added extra. Okay, so effort required for a Watt governor is less than that of a Porter governor. Clear or not? Okay, next is for Hartnell governor. Okay, so for Hartnell governor, this E by 2 is equal to C into mg plus Fs, where Fs is the spring force. Okay, these are all our simple formulas. Okay, just you have to remember one thing, that in if this formula you are learning, then in Watt governor this m will be 0. Okay, and in Hartnell governor that will be replaced by the spring force. That's it. Getting this or not? Okay. Now next is the power required. Power required. Okay, so obviously if the effort is applied, sorry, obviously if governor is applying some force or applying some effort, then there has to be some work done, and that work done per unit time is nothing but power. Okay, so what will be power? This power will be equal to effort into lift of the sleeve. Effort into lift of the sleeve. Okay, so from here we will get the formula. I am directly telling you the formula. If you want, you can see the proof from the book. So this power will be equal to 4c square upon 1 plus 2c m plus capital M by 2 into 1 plus q into gh. Getting this? Okay, so this is the formula for power required. Clear? Okay. Now, last topic is coefficient of insensitiveness or coefficient of detention. It is also called as the coefficient of detention. Coefficient of insensitiveness or coefficient of detention. Okay. Now we have seen one formula, that n square for a Porter governor is equal to what? 895 by h mg plus capital Mg plus minus F upon mg. Okay, this is the formula for Porter governor. And one graph I told you of controlling force diagram we have seen for a Porter governor. This is the controlling force line, and there was one speed curve, and this is the equilibrium point. That means at this particular point the radius is r. At this particular speed, suppose n. Okay, just understand this thing very carefully. Now, this we have considered if the friction was not taken into account. Now, when the friction is taken into account, what will happen? So, you can see here, if the friction is acting and if the sleeve is moving up, if the sleeve is moving up, the friction will act downward, and this will be added in the weight mg. Okay, so if the sleeve is moving up, this term will be mg plus f, and if the sleeve is moving down, the friction will act upward, and this will be mg minus f, because mg obviously is acting downward, the weight of the center weight. Clear or not? Okay, so what will happen if the sleeve is moving up? What will happen to the speed when the sleeve is moving up? So if the sleeve is moving up, this term will be mg plus f. So obviously this speed will increase. Getting this or not? Okay, so the speed will be increased if the sleeve is moving upward. Okay, so this is the figure, this is the curve. If the sleeve is moving upward, then we are having the speed as n1. Okay, similarly, if the sleeve is moving downward, this term would be mg minus f. Okay, so that means speed is decreasing, so the curve we will get will be like this, n2. Okay, so n is the speed, steady state speed, n1 is the speed when sleeve is rising or moving upward, n2 is the speed when sleeve is lowering. Okay. Now you can find one important thing here, that at all these points the radius remains same. At this particular point, if the speed is varying, we are having the equilibrium speed at this point, and if it is decreasing, we are having the equilibrium speed at this particular point. At all these 3 points, the radius of rotation of ball is same. Now what does this mean? This means that this particular governor is insensitive for this range of speed. Getting this now? What is sensitivity? Sensitivity is nothing but the with a small change in speed, if the sleeve is rising or falling, or the radius is increasing or decreasing a lot, that is sensitivity. Okay, and if for this range of speed, if the radius is not changing at all, then we can call this as insensitiveness. Okay, so this is nothing but insensitiveness. Okay, so from here we can determine the coefficient of insensitiveness. Coefficient of insensitiveness or coefficient of detention, you can call it as. So this coefficient of insensitiveness is nothing but n1 minus n2 by n. Okay, and don't get confused this with the formula of sensitiveness. That was the range of speed upon mean speed. Okay, this is not range of speed upon mean speed. Here n1 is the higher speed. Higher speed means speed when the sleeve is rising. N2 is the speed of the governor when the sleeve is lowering. And n is the speed of the governor at a steady state. Getting this? So from here we can determine this coefficient of insensitiveness, which is equal to n1 minus n2 by n. So if in the question if it is asked to determine the coefficient of detention or coefficient of insensitiveness, then how can we determine? So from this particular formula we can determine the value of n. How? Just remove this f from here. I am telling you the simplest trick. Just remove f from here, you will get the value of n. Okay, in order to get the value of n1, just add here f, we will get n1. Okay, for n2, this f will be subtracted from this, we will get n2, and just put the formula n1 minus n2 by n, you will get the final answer, coefficient of detention or insensitiveness. This is the simplest way to solve the numerical. We will solve some numerical related to this, and this thing will be much clearer. Getting this now? Okay, so this completes this governor part, and in next session we will solve the numericals, the questions which are asked in previous ESC examination. Okay, thank you.